One of the most seismic changes to society we're currently going through. We haven't quite arrived there yet, but we're nearly there. And that's this whole concept of a cashless society. Can we ever truly get rid of physical money? Now, this is a topic quite close to my heart because having a natural interest in history and having done a lot of education in history meant that a lot of my academic past did involve a lot of analysis of currency. One of the best guides as to what happened in the past is to look at coinage. Who ruled what from when at what time? Things can get very hectic in societies, and sometimes everything can get destroyed. There's been lots of great fires of libraries, for example. The problem with libraries is that their contents are very flammable. Ships with important documents on can just sink to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. And we still haven't explored the bottom of all the ocean yet. But coins are kind of unique because they're made out of precious metals. And the unique thing about precious metals that makes them precious is that they don't decay, they don't deteriorate. A gold coin buried 3,000 years ago, if it's dug up, is in exactly the same condition as when it was buried. Other metals like copper and whatnot, they can just corrode in time, and you could dig one up in a few thousand years and it'd just be a little lump of green, or whatever colour it's decayed into, with no defining features and being completely uncleanable. So when I was younger I also got into collecting coins, which is another thing you can do with physical money, is you can just collect it. And I don't just mean in a sort of Scrooge McDuck kind of way, I just mean in a sort of intellectual interest kind of way. I didn't really collect rare coins. There's a very big market for expensive rare coins and I didn't really fancy that. I just bought modern coinage, tried to create sets, and it was all good fun really, all part of the hunt. By doing so I naturally acquired some rare coins because in order to put together a full set you have to have the rare ones as well as the common ones. But yeah, a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, I sold my coin collection. So any interested burglars pricking their ears up, oh, somebody's got a coin collection, you know, yeah, no, that's all gone. That's sold and turned into cash. Well, I say the word cash, but I haven't. I've turned my cash, my old cash that's no longer cash, into future digits in a computer somewhere. And these digits in a computer somewhere allow me to purchase things like money used to. And it looks like money, and it sort of sounds like money because it's numbers. There's some numbers that represent money. But there's going to be no moment in my life where I withdraw all of my digital numbers and convert them to cash, unless I once again get to the point where I'm so poor that I have like £5 in my bank account. I say £5, I mean, we don't even need to use that terminology anymore really, it's just 5 units, isn't it? And generally speaking, I've always thought this is kind of a good thing. I mean, money has a lot of drawbacks. If you leave your house without your money, you're kind of screwed in the old days. You have to go home, no option. I suppose that's the same with credit cards. If you do all your payment by cards, then if you leave home without your cards you're kind of screwed. I guess it's the same thing. Likewise, if you drop your money down a drain, you've got £1 and you drop it down the drain, that's gone forever, isn't it? You're much less likely to drop your card down the drain. They don't tend to roll away, and they don't they're not small and finicky, and cards do get dropped, but when they land on the grate they'd have to be at a very specific angle on the grate to fall down there, wouldn't they? I've no doubt that's happened to somebody at some point, but it's not half as common as dropping those coins used to be. But obviously the main thing is going back to this whole burglar thing, the problem of theft. With real money there is a very, very strong impulse for thievery and burglary and robbery and all the other words that we associate with somebody nicking somebody else's stuff. In fact, a lot of the wars in history were effectively just big burglary jobs. You could extrapolate the Italian job film and probably equate I don't know, hundreds of ancient wars to a very similar scenario. Somebody's got all the gold, so another group of people plan and concoct this method to go and secure it via violence. And the more gold somebody has, the more security guards they have, so the bigger armies are required to go and thieve it. So when somebody has loads and loads of money, they can afford, entire cities basically, entire cities worth of security guards. So in order to go and burgle their money, you'd need an entire city's worth of people, and probably a few more cities worth of people, to go and take it over. And when these got big enough to be notable, they go down in history as a big war, and the history books might mention lots of grievances, but essentially at the back of most people's minds is the issue, the defining issue is that they want to relieve that person of their gold and be in control of the gold, and then have the additional ego boost of sticking their face on it. But with digital money, of course, there's no face on it. It's just numbers. It's just a database. So there's lots and lots of things related to cash that will vanish, from collecting to egos to products that are archaeologically discoverable in 200 or 300 years' time, and the ability to thieve, just mug somebody, walk up to them and have their money and wander off. So this idea that we're just going to erase money is quite a big deal, really. There's a lot of things to consider. I mean, why do we even need banks? Banks essentially were created as a means to protect physical money. That gradually changed over the years as they got involved in lending it out, but their primary purpose was somewhere for you to put your hard cash, so that if you do get mugged, you'd only be mugged or burgled, you'd only have a percentage of your total wealth stolen from you rather than all of it. Likewise, if somebody tried to rob a bank, they would only get a percentage of the money, they wouldn't get all of it, because all the money would be dispersed across the entire banking network. But with a cashless society, why do you need a bank? You just need evidence that you have this amount of units that are yours. Or I suppose what you might call, in the crypto money market, a wallet. And of course crypto is one of the things that's emerged as a result of this deviation away from hard money, is that without hard money sort of verified as genuine by having the person's face stamped on it and coming from a specific mint, then anyone can just make their own money. You see this in the crypto markets. It's all the rage at the moment, just create your own coin. And crypto money is called crypto because it exists in this void between official, real, authorised money and made up money, fake money. What in the old days probably would have just been called a forgery. But anything with value has value. If people want something, it has value. Like, for example, if people accepted forged money, it becomes money. But the reason people didn't accept forged money was because it upset the economics of the nation. If everybody could just make their own money and pass it between themselves, then, the whole structure of society, or planned society, goes up the wazoo. If you're paying somebody, I don't know, 3 groats to pick your potatoes, and somebody comes along and says, here's 42 forged groats, mate, go and have yourself a few pints, they're not going to be pulling up your potatoes, are they? Likewise, if a bank lent out 4 groats to somebody, and then that person met somebody with a load of forged groats, and the bloke said, here's your 4 forged groats, and go and give them back now. And he goes back to the bank, here's my 4 forged groats. And they go, oh, well, that was quick and easy, wasn't it? That's not really how it works, I don't think. And of course the reason why gold was even used as the currency first of all was just pure common sense reasons, in that it had value. Being a precious metal meant that it was very useful. You could make things out of it that had value. Most of those things were things you wore, so you could wear your value. Instead of having your Hugo boss suit or whatever. You know, you just have a big old chain round your neck made out of gold, and that you could strut your stuff and dominate your local facility because everybody could see that you're the high status human in the close vicinity because you've got all that gold wrapped round you. But with a cashless society, it's all a lot more vague, isn't it? You could have somebody wandering down the street in a fake Hugo Boss suit, and in their wallet's a crypto wallet full of fake money that has lots of real value. And that's all a bit confusing, really, isn't it? It's a bit hard to adjust. It's like a seismic shift that a new generation born into it could probably adjust to, but a lot of very old people are going to fall by the wayside. And the new people who are adjusting to it, they don't really know what they're getting themselves into. We have no idea how the world is going to look in 50 years' time in a cashless society, where everybody's lives is dominated by a database. And of course the drawback with a database is that future theft will just be hacking. Go into the computer and hack your 1 into a 5, job done. And then of course, you know, that can't happen because there'll be cross-references and there'll be rigorous checks to make sure all the numbers are not changing at all, and all the ins and outs are going in and out correctly and all that kind of thing. But it'll all be relying on electricity, as long as that switch doesn't go out. But with coins and cash generally, if the metaphorical switch goes out, it doesn't go out for very long. All the coins are quickly scooped up by people and the process is just resumed. But if the electricity switch goes out for not very long at all, really, it's difficult to know how it can re-establish itself. It's difficult to know how in 300 years' time a future archaeologist looking back is going to assess what was going on back then, especially if the lights have gone out for a very long time. And there's always been total control. I mean, if somebody in the past had loads of money and they fell out of favour with the wrong people, they'd soon be eliminated, wouldn't they? But I suppose that's much easier in a technological age. If somebody gets themselves in a situation where somebody wants to eliminate them, they can just press the delete button, can't they? They've got no more units in their global database to draw units to buy their Mars bars. But you've got to steer away from scaremongering completely, because the chances of the switch going out are quite slim. On matters as important as this, there will always be reserves of reserves of reserves. Well, you'd hope anyway. In that if the grid goes out, they've got a reserve grid specifically for that. And then if that grid goes out, they've got another one on backup for that one, and all that kind of thing. So that if things do get really bad, there's still that framework there to re-establish when things improve again. So there's lots of pros and cons to both systems. And I'm still sort of veering on the side of, well, I think I would rather have digital currency. Because on an individual level, it just reduces your chance of encountering a physical encounter where somebody wants to physically steal your wealth off you via violence or other underhanded trick. And while there's lots of digital tricks out there of people attempting to do the same thing with digital money, it's not necessarily involving violence against the individual. I mean, it can do. You hear of stories of violence regarding Bitcoin wallets, of course. But generally speaking, people aren't murdering each other to rip their debit cards or mobile phones off them to then go and buy themselves a sandwich before they get found out, you know. The local drug dealer can't take a locked phone to his dealer and say, yeah, honest Gov, there's somebody's credit card on here, it's got loads of money in it, give us the drugs. I mean, the most he's going to get out of the drug dealer is whether the drug dealer wants to take on a hot phone or not. I think most drug dealers don't really want a stockpile of stolen phones as their income from dealing drugs. It's not super liquid, is it? But generally speaking, for me, I do have a bit of sadness for the passing of coinage and hard cash generally. As I say, because it's just formed a sort of quite a large part of my life in a way. in one way or another. And there's a lot of soul in hard cash. There's artistry on the coin itself. There's the historical interest. There's the ability to hunt and collect variations. And there's the historical aspect of archaeology. And without all these things, what can you say about modern numbers? The only way you can collect it is to collect and watch the numbers go up, which a lot of people seem to be obsessed with nowadays. Maybe that's why, another reason why we're having such a disparate societal shift towards very rich and very poor, is because the only thing you can do with these numbers in databases to generate interest out of them is to watch them go up. That's the only intellectual hunt you can make with them. And perhaps that's why the motivation to be the figurehead leader is reduced amongst the intelligentsia, because there's no ego boost. You don't get any reward for being the leader of your society. You're not immortalised in the coinage, and for thousands of years to come. The smart place to be is wherever these databases are, sitting on a computer screen with a database plugged into some algorithm that enables your numbers to go up. And of course we're entering a scenario now where we do have a crisis of people, not enough people out there able to metaphorically pick up the potatoes, because they're too busy being plugged into algorithms that are doing the job for them. And algorithms that aren't necessarily real money, they're just trading fake money for the lols, and then converting that into supposedly real money and buying up everybody's assets with it. And then maybe that's why all the assets are going up in value all the time, because maybe these people who have all these databases of numbers going up, maybe they realise that it's a bit precarious, a bit boring, a bit bland. They ought to have some physical things for if things get bad, or if the penny drops, or if they've completely fucked up the economy. And so with this mindset of sort of like vague panic, they're just rushing out and grabbing anything that's physical and might have a value. In the past, a kind of limit to wealth used to be the physical ability to hold the actual physical money. You couldn't walk down the street with thousands of pounds worth of gold, because thousands of pounds worth of gold is fucking heavy. You'd need a fucking wheelbarrow. But with digital money, you can walk down the street with 1 billion quid in your pocket, tapered into a card that's attached to a database. But anyway, I digress. But then this video is mostly about digressing, because it's an unknown quantity. There's a definite change happening towards a cashless society. And societies haven't been cashless for thousands of years. This is quite possibly one of the most radical changes to humanity it's possible to imagine. It's not just a matter of worrying about if the switch goes off, but there's hundreds of little psychological changes that this could well have on the individual citizens in each citizen's own unique way. For example, with myself, I'm happy that cash goes away so that I don't feel so physically endangered when I walk down the street. But on the other hand, there's no denying that a cashless society is a lot more boring than a society with cash. And while I might have felt more threatened with cash, at the same time I felt more in control of my cash. At least if I had cash, then I knew I could buy my sandwich when I went to town that day. In the future, I could have 1 billion quid in my database, but by the time I've got down to the shop, some knob who doesn't like me has turned me off, and I present my credentials and they say, no, you've got nothing in your account. And it's just like, oh, there you go. So yeah, not a lot of answers in this video. This is very much a question asking video and a little
look into the psychology of the human nature, how human nature might change as we ebb away from the physical to the ethereal.